In today's fast-paced world, it's easy to feel like you're being pulled in several directions every day with all the things you need to get done. The days can feel so long, but at the same time, not long enough to finish everything that needs attention. And most of the time, at the end of the day, despite the fact that you're absolutely exhausted from working all day, when you take stock of the work actually done, you realize you're not satisfied with your output. But it's not your fault. Between working full-time or running a business, spending time and supporting family, working on side projects, or studying for a course or certification, responding to messages, running quick errands, it can be quite the full plate of commitments. If you're anything like me, then you're always looking for ways to increase your productivity to get more done within a shorter time frame, managing your time to ultimately be more productive. So in this video, I'm going to share with you 10 of the best strategies, tips, or even apps that have been absolute game changers in my quest to maximize my productivity. If that sounds like something that piques your interest, then let's get to it. Hello friends, welcome back to the channel. My name is Jeremy, and if you're new here and haven't yet subscribed, please consider doing so because on this channel, I speak about fintech, digital transformation, personal and career development. Getting more done in less time is a goal that many of us would love to achieve. But human as we all are, we fall victim to procrastination, distractions, and sometimes just plain old laziness. However, there are proven methods that can help you live a more productive life. So let's get into some of the strategies that have worked for me and could potentially work for you as well. The first thing you need to do in order to be more productive is to change your mindset. A lot of us have repeated the phrase, "I don't have time," so much that we tend to actually believe that we do not have much control over the time available to us. But that is simply not true. You first need to adopt the mindset that you own and control all your time and you're actively choosing to do whatever it is you're doing, be it productive or unproductive. I've said in another video that even though the actual concept of time isn't within our control because time is a continuum and doesn't stop for anyone, the best way to manage time is self-management, which is managing yourself. Now that doesn't happen if you don't have the mindset that it's actually possible to do. So when you say you don't have time to do something, what you're actually saying is that it's not a priority and you're either deliberately or subconsciously deprioritizing the activity, which is why you can't get around to doing it. Once you're aware of this and shift your mindset, you'll realize it's quite empowering to view yourself as being fully in control of your time and getting to decide how to use it. The next is keeping a to-do list. Now I know this sounds quite simple and obvious, pretty much a no-brainer. But keeping a daily to-do list has been an absolute game changer for me. There is something spiritual, or maybe that's not the ideal word, rather psychological or transcendent about simply writing things down. David Allen in his book Getting Things Done explains that the brain is meant for generating ideas, not storing ideas, which is why we're forgetful. Now this applies to our daily tasks as well. You might think you are fully capable of remembering every commitment that you have and every task that needs to be done. However, that's how things slip through the cracks and you end up forgetting to do certain key things that you intended to prioritize. And just like everything you see around you started off as an idea before it was first put on paper and developed. If you want to get your task done in an efficient manner, then a to-do list is definitely a good way to go. And it feels absolutely great ticking and canceling things off your list as the day goes by, and that in itself can be motivation to keep going. You can keep a physical to-do list by writing on cards or in a book, or there are apps like Todoist if you prefer to keep it digitally on your phone. Next is what is called the daily highlight. I picked this up from the book Make Time by Jake Knapp and John Zeratsky. It's a very simple concept but makes a huge difference when it comes to prioritization and effectiveness. It simply says that every day you need to pick the one thing that moves the needle the most for you that day and underscore it as your daily highlight. So the way I like to go about it is once I have my to-do list done, I then pick out the one task that must absolutely get done and I either underline or put an asterisk next to it as my highlighted task for the day. It could either be the most urgent task or simply the most impactful task. Whatever it is, it must be the one thing that once it's accomplished, you won't look back at the end of the day and feel like something major was left undone. So even though some of us like to start the day with the simple tasks just to get our wheels spinning, having a daily highlight keeps you cognizant of that key activity that you must get to. So the daily highlight has definitely helped me focus my efforts on the most important tasks that generate the greatest results, and I hope it does the same for you. Next is time blocking. Now this is a good follow-up to the daily highlight. Time blocking is essentially scheduling specific times during the day where you tackle specific tasks. Now writing down the activities you need to get done is one thing. However, if you leave it all up in the air, then it's very likely you won't get through your list. We typically use our calendars to schedule meetings and events, but the same can apply to our daily tasks. If you take your daily highlight for example, scheduling a specific time during the day where you focus and get it done is the best way to ensure that the method is effective. In the same way you would block time in your calendar for meetings in order to make sure you don't miss them, time blocking your tasks and daily highlights ensures you don't keep pushing it out till the day is over because you took the time to actually schedule it in. Next, we have the Pomodoro technique. This is one of my favorite productivity hacks of all time. It's especially useful when you need to study or carve out some time to do some deep work. This has definitely been a game changer for me. The Pomodoro technique is simply a time management system that is based on the premise of balancing work and taking breaks. So you divide your work into 25-minute tranches followed by a 5-minute break, and it's those intervals that are referred to as Pomodoros. So after 4 Pomodoros, you then take a longer break of about 15 to 20 minutes. Now the idea behind the Pomodoro technique is that timing yourself instills a sense of urgency and keeps you from feeling like you have endless hours in the day that you end up squandering on distractions. With the Pomodoro, you know you have a set time box within which to get the specific work or study done. Also, forcing yourself to take those 5-minute breaks is to keep you from burning yourself out after hours behind the PC or books, which ultimately makes you less effective. Getting up and taking a breather helps to keep you refreshed and helps recharge you for the next bout of Pomodoro. For some people, 25 minutes is just when they are getting into the flow of their work, so they tend to extend the period to 40 minutes or 50 minutes, and that's fine too. There are even some variations of the Pomodoro technique, like a new one called Animedoro, that students love, where people work or study for 40 to 60 minutes and take a 20-minute break to watch an anime episode. But with that said, the Pomodoro technique has worked great for me, and now you can simply download the timer on your phone for free, or if you want the physical version, you can simply order one on Amazon. Now the next 3 are quite similar, so I'll go through them quickly since they're related. The first is the 2-minute rule, also another simple concept that can be quite effective. This is another method by David Allen to help you beat procrastination. He basically says, as you're taking stock of the tasks you need to accomplish, if there's anything that will take less than 2 minutes to get done, then it should be done immediately it's defined. Now the idea here is not to let the small things pile up when you can quite simply get them out of the way. There are a number of tasks that, although important, don't require a lot of time to accomplish. Tasks like responding to your mother's text, or cleaning your desk, or scheduling a meeting in your calendar most often are simple enough and don't need to take up space on your to-do list, because for most people, those will have lower priority and you want to get them out of the way so you can focus on the larger effort items. For me, following the 2-minute rule is a way of getting me into the flow of getting things done, which then carries me into my main to-do list. Next, we have the 5-minute rule. Now this is a variation with some difference. Sometimes we stall on certain tasks simply because of the sheer amount of work and effort we know it's going to take. So the biggest issue becomes just starting. You know those times when you have so much to do that you end up just sitting there and doing nothing? Yeah, that happens to me all the time. The 5-minute rule essentially works like this. You force yourself to work on a task for just 5 minutes with the understanding that you can quit after 5 minutes if you like. What this does is it tricks your brain into thinking about the task differently, because 5 minutes feels reasonable. I mean, that is even shorter than the time you're spending on this YouTube video, so the brain feels that should be simpler, and then you get started. Of course, what most often happens is once you start, you begin to get so absorbed in the task that you most likely will keep going after those 5 minutes. It's sort of like trying to get a heavy ball rolling down a hill. The largest effort is in the first push to get it to move, but once it starts rolling, it goes all the way. And that's the same concept as the 5-minute rule. So even if you do quit after 5 minutes, at least you jump the biggest hurdle, which is just getting started. And then we have the 2-day rule. Now this is a method that I first heard from YouTuber Ali Abdal, but I believe it originally comes from Matt Develop. It's also a simple concept. It says never skip the thing you're trying to accomplish accomplish for more than 2 days in a row. So it can be something simple like deciding to go for a walk or a run each day. Maybe you skip one day because it was raining, but the 2-day rule says you never skip 2 days in a row, because skipping a day might be fine, but skipping 2 days makes you more likely to skip a third, and then a week, and then a month. You get the drift. I find this to be particularly helpful for maintaining consistency when working out, and I'm sure it will be greatly beneficial for you if you're able to ingrain it as a habit. And finally, we have delegation. In fact, all these tips are pretty simple, but this one is approached from a slightly different angle. Most of us tend to prefer to own our commitments, and rightly so, because then you're the only dependency as to whether the task gets done or not. But there's a lot of merit to delegating or simply pushing certain tasks to others. Naval Ravikant speaks about setting an aspirational hourly rate, and what that means is calculating how much your time is worth per hour, so you use that as a benchmark or a point of reference in your decision making to undertake or delegate a task. So let's say you're making about 20,000 CD or dollars per month, and that comes to about $950 a day and roughly about $120 per hour. So using that, you can determine if a task is worth the amount of time you spend on it, or could you delegate it to someone else and maybe even pay them less than your hourly rate to save yourself the trouble. So friends, there you have it. Those are my top 10 hacks to exponentially increase your productivity. Now here's a bonus tip for watching all the way to the end, and that is to avoid multitasking. Most of us feel super productive when we are multitasking, and it sounds cool to say, yeah, I'm good at multitasking. But research shows your brain can only focus on one activity at a time, and you're forcing it to switch back and forth when you multitask, which leads to excessive stress, possible burnout, and reduced overall efficiency. It's simply not sustainable in the long term, so focus on one task at a time, knock that out of the park, and move on to the next. You'll find out you're more productive that way. I hope you found this video valuable. Let me know what your favorite productivity technique is in the comment section, and if you liked the video, remember to hit the like button and share with anyone who you think could benefit from it. As always, you can grab your African print outfits from Wear Ghana with the link in the description. Have an amazing week, and I'll see you in the next video. Cheers, guys.